Welcome. I'm Paul Kapuska, editor of Stadium Tech Report. Our guest today is Mike Beteag. Mike, welcome. Why don't you tell our viewers who you are and what you do?
Excellent. I am the CTO for OC Vibe, which is now the umbrella company for the Anaheim Ducks, San Diego Gulls, Honda Center, and a number of rinks that we have throughout Southern California as well.
Great. And what is your responsibility there?
So my focus is on this new entertainment district that we're building. It's a $3 billion project that surrounds the Honda Center. We are currently in the planning phase. We break ground early next year.
And what would you say is the most pressing business issue that you have in this development process right now?
No, that's great.
Just one.
So the key is, and you know this world well, balancing what we need to build, but coupled with the complementary sponsorship that goes with that. And so currently negotiating across a multitude of vendors in the tech stack, trying to figure out, well, how can we work together mutually beneficial? I'll throw out the 1 + 1 = 3. We're trying to create value there where it's, yes, you're going to get your name on signage, but how can we work together? A couple of folks we're talking to, the intent is they're going to come on property and create an executive briefing center, an innovation center, so that we can showcase their work. And so the key is we get our technology solution, hooray, they get a sales opportunity, and that goes back to the 1 + 1 = 3, essentially, from a partnership standpoint.
That's great. Being in the design phase, it may just be sort of a lot of planning right now, but what are the top technologies you were looking at deployment?
Yes. So my comment is always somebody else is going to tell me to stop putting glass in the ground, because that's where we're going to start. I'll just keep stuffing it, but somebody in accounting is going to say stop that. So we start there, but then obviously wireless technologies. Wi-Fi is going to be critical, which is fabulous to have ownership that is focused on technology. Coming from my vantage point, that's who I'm leaning on. And so all that to say, the network is critical. That's where we're starting, right? Because if that doesn't go well, we're in trouble. We have a couple of partners that are helping right now in the planning, including AmpThink, ME Engineering, Aspen Venues. The backbone is just about done, thank goodness. And we're going to start trenching early next year, so that's good timing. But that's kind of problem one, and then the entire software stack is another exciting opportunity right now.
You know, it's interesting because you're talking about a whole different set of technologies. But when you have a building, or in this case, buildings, and space, how do you integrate the technology into that, into the design and into the build?
Perfect. So there's a few things we're working on right now. So this premise of the digital twin, essentially starting early with integrating everything that's being built and documented under a visual interface, so kind of a 3D version of what that campus looks like. So we're starting there. We have 72 spaces essentially between buildings and common areas. And so that's an important piece. We are working with PricewaterhouseCoopers currently on our technology plan, so universal data platform, an integration platform, an API library to basically work throughout the entire environment. How do we process that? How do you apply ML and AI and use that as well? And so those are some of the areas we're really focused on right now.
You know, whenever there's a new build or a new thing like this, I think one of the hardest things is trying to look into the future, because as soon as you talk about stuff, as soon as you buy something, you know, the next version's already out. What do you foresee in both the short-term and long-term future, and how are you incorporating that into
Really good question. Really good question. So what's unique about our environment here is this is a kind of an ownership legacy product, or project specifically. We're not going to build it and sell any piece of it. We're going to run it for decades and decades. And so if you're going to have operational excellence in this environment, we better plan and build this correctly.
Right.
A lot of the things we're thinking about, we have to have flexibility in the future. So going back to glass in the ground, I never want to worry about capacity again, right? Which is, I don't know that that's an actual thing you can do at this point, but my statement is always there's never going to be less need for bandwidth ever. It will continue to rise. And so some of the things, in fact, with the folks at AmThink we're talking about, this is almost a 10-year project. So we're going to roll out Wi-Fi 6 in our existing building next year. And then we have an 8 to 10-year run of refreshes as we continue phase by phase. And so the planning for the technology refresh is also critical as well.
That's great. All right, are you ready for personal questions?
Sure.
All right, Mac or PC?
Yes. I am platform agnostic.
You are.
Android, iOS, Mac
That's
OS,
the next question.
PC.
Android or what do you have in your pocket? Android or iOS?
I have iOS.
Okay.
I have an Android though as well.
Yeah, but
and
you
even
keep
worse,
it in a dark box.
I like all technology, honestly.
Great. And a question about events. What is the one event you've always wanted to go to or see but haven't?
This is good. I'm going on the 26th, barring COVID complications. So the Foo Fighters are playing at the Forum on the 26th. Even better, I have twin boys, 15 and a half years old, who have never been to a concert. This will be their first concert.
They'll rock out.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited. I've been wanting to see them a long time. So that's what first comes to mind. I could probably come up with others, but
That's great.
Excited to see the Foo Fighters. Oh my goodness.
Thanks for being with us today, Mike. Appreciate it. Again, I'm Paul Kapuska with the Stadium Tech Report.
Thank you very much, Paul. Appreciate it. Take care.
These great experiences, the plan, the vision for OC Vibe. So maybe I could just start with you, Mike. Could you talk a little bit about the technology strategy for OC Vibe?
Absolutely. So our vision and what our technology team is tasked with is both the design, the build, and the operation of this facility that you were seeing up there on screen. And the key is that our intent is to use technology to engage, to inform, to enrich, to entertain, and to connect the community both on the campus and around the campus to provide unparalleled experiences. What we like to say is you can't put our product in a box. You cannot wrap it up and deliver it. Our product is experience. And so that is our North Star. That's where we're focused. Now I will say our mission is twofold. It is ease and it is frictionless for that environment across the board. And so to achieve our mission, and I love the Living Lab conversation because again, we have this opportunity because we operate roughly 90% of everything you saw up there on screen, which is relatively unique, but further engaging the third parties that are on property, a few restaurants, some of those other pieces as just another extension essentially of our operations, it is critical. And so I'll just talk briefly, there's 4 key areas of technology that we're focused on. So I'll start with IoT and sensors, right? And you'll see a common thread here is going to be data, obviously, but things like LiDAR sensors in our parking structures. And so we can get real-time inventory of what is available, license plate recognition as well for our VIPs to make sure their spaces are available, they're in their spaces, we know they arrive. Further, camera vision, use of video basically to look at traffic flows. We have 4 private roads on the property. And so understanding, how fast are we going? How many cars are on the road right now? To help understand again, how can we, the transit piece is so important, right? And so that information, going back to public-private partnership, that's something we want to share with the city, obviously. And that data goes back to when we are in a surge mode and we have those venues all operating and leaving at the same time. The lights for all the arteries getting folks off the property and again focused on experience. We work with the city to make sure that traffic light stays on for 2 minutes so we can get them to the 57th freeway. Further, I'll talk about crowd flow tracking, both use of LiDAR sensors again, but more so is how are people flowing on the property, and obviously we'll talk about over time series data across all these and the variables from weather, day of week, what events were on property, all these elements and use of AI and ML technology to say, okay, look, predictive, what does it look like 2 months from now when we have a similar venue showcase, as it were, with folks coming on property at the same time with the same weather, all those wonderful things. So IoT sensors, smart utilities, I'll touch on as well. energy, obviously electricity and water, air quality, all these things and measurements. But our intent is, and not to steal Bill's thunder at all, sustainability. Think, you saw on these pictures, we have a 250-foot media wall. Imagine the dashboard every morning that says, look, this is how we're doing as a community with sustainability based on the measurements we're taking. So engaging our community to make sure it's not just important to us, but obviously it's important to everybody involved that lives and works and play on this environment. So IoT. Second piece I'll talk to is a site-wide digital commerce platform. And so obviously the data and the transactions gathered from this are critical, but this is across everything from our food and beverage, the many restaurants we're going to have on property, back to hotels, the residents paying their rent. Essentially the key element here is this digital wallet that will facilitate a lot of these transactions that are critical, but also the data that we gather and understand from the folks on the property across that live, work, and play to help us provide better insights back to them. And so that is another critical piece of our infrastructure, as it were, for this property. Number 3, I'm going to talk about the app. And so we like one app to rule them all for those that are familiar with the Lord of the Rings. But it was perfect. I think Ian queued that up to go 25 to 1 and the importance of that. But the key is the app is our interface to every individual on that property. And so the data that we collect, whether that be IoT related, whether it be through that digital commerce platform, which is, again, is executed through that app, but further things like, okay, you get near a beacon as you're walking up to any of our venues, and your concert ticket, your event ticket is going to surface itself within the app. You don't have to go fumble for it and look for it, and then we're going to scan you and bring you right through again. Frictionless is key here, right? Going back to that digital wallet premise and loyalty, what a wonderful way to track that information, but this is a key. So we have a design principle, let's call it, where look, not only are we're California, right? So some of you folks know CCPA and CRPA that's coming up. GDPR is the closest thing for folks that aren't familiar. But we have a responsibility from a compliance standpoint, but more importantly, our values are such that we have to be transparent. We have to be accountable for the data we collect. And if you want to opt out, we're going to opt you out. We're still very interested in your anonymized data, no longer connected to you individually. But the key is that balance between how much value can we provide to you that you don't want to opt out, and you maintain that app and use that on our property across the board. So again, the third critical factor. And fourth, we'll just wrap this up with data, analytics, and insights, obviously. The key for us is understanding, we talked about this a little bit, but again, I want to make sure that, look, if you love Latin shows, you're going to know about all the Latin shows that are coming to the property. Before you come to our property, we want you to give us your itinerary. If, again, the value add has to be there, but for us, then I can recommend the restaurants, I can make reservations for you. Even further, you're on property and you're in the wellness park. You want to order a meal, we'll deliver it to you out there in the park. And that could be a resident, that could be an office tenant. But again, these site-wide services across the board, understanding the insights and analytics around the data we collect is just absolutely critical. Twofold. Experience, and again, we're looking for unparalleled experiences. This is our product. And so that is one facet, but secondarily, the operational excellence and optimization that we learn from this environment, so that going back to, again, time series data that we collect across the board to understand, okay, on a Friday night in full surge mode, what does that look like for us? How do we prepare for that from a safety and security aspect, from a culinary aspect, on and on and on. And so those elements, and obviously underpinning all this is, cloud technology, mobile technology. Chunka in his new digital app book talks about these 6 kind of major platforms that drive so much innovation right now. We're standing on the shoulders of giants. All these particular technologies is what is going to help us enable these unparalleled experiences.
Can I make one comment on that, Mike, to what you said? Because the traffic management, the data around that, the parking, just to give you context here, we're going from 3,600 surface parking lots, which are only used 140 days a year, to 8,000 structured parking spaces. And so getting human beings who hate parking garages in and out of those as efficiently as possible is critical. Otherwise, they're just not going to come back. And it's complicated. We need to bring in external factors as well, because just as one, the Angels are 400 yards away from us, Major League Baseball team. That's 40,000 people. We could have nights when there are 60,000, 65, 70,000 people surging into this location. If we don't manage that correctly, we're dead. That 70,000 people will not come back.
Yeah, no, really good overview of the technology. Really front, middle, and back office complete transformation. I wonder, Ashley, if we could just go back to you quickly on the technology side, just the role that Microsoft's playing, and your thoughts on enabling the vision that Mike talked about.
I'd love to do that. I always love an opportunity to talk about the technology that we have. At the end of the day, what we're doing is we're creating something that doesn't exist, starting with what we have. And Dan said that this is a unique project, and we haven't seen anything like this. And to make it real, with what Mike just said, think about a situation where, OC Vibe has data that lives on my behavior in their CRM. They have it that on me that lives in their enterprise-wide commerce system, like what my buying behaviors are. They have my behavior that exists within the app. And what we can do at Microsoft, regardless of whose system you're running, is we can take all of that data, we can ingest it, we can find patterns, we can identify micro segments, and we can make suggestions using stochastic modeling to figure out like what the next likely behavior is based on prior behavior. So if OC Vibe knows that I'm totally into Metallica and I go to a Metallica show, what they could do is they could say, well gosh, like we're having this special meet and greet with Lars. Ashley tends to like the bougier, more personal experiences. Maybe I push this as an opportunity to her. And I know that Ashley really loves convenience because she's willing to pay for convenience every time she's here. She pays for the upgraded parking, she does all this. Like, traffic's backed up. And we know that we will not get her back because she's busy if she's sitting on the freeway for an hour and a half. So maybe I kick her a coupon at the end of the concert to go get a drink at a local bar. Now what's super cool about that, because the entire ecosystem is participating. The restaurateurs to the people that are operating the office spaces, and Dan and I were talking about this last night, is it helps control food waste too. Because they can share the data with the restaurant operators to say, here's how much volume we're expecting this evening based on throughput, based on historic patterns of behavior, and Microsoft is enabling all of that. And I was thinking a little bit about your power question, Chunka, like is it the incumbents that disrupt, or is it the existing establishment that disrupts? What I love about this is, for me, OC Vibe is equal brownfield, greenfield. We have a place, a lab, to learn our way forward, to test and fail, to test and succeed with what happens at the Ducks, to really build the use cases for tomorrow when OC Vibe is live in 2024. And we're enabling the mission around exclusively for everyone, which is the property's tagline. They want everybody to feel like it was exclusively for them. And we're doing that with data, but we're also enabling the sustainability portion of the mission that OC Vibe has as well.
Yeah, no, that's great. So maybe just one more quick question on technology, Mike, before we shift to the next segment is, could you maybe talk a little bit about some of the digital twin technology, or maybe some of the technology that might be out there that people may want to go see?
Oh, sure. No, good point. So we did, in concert with Microsoft, going back to HoloLens again, we have 36 acres of phase one, essentially, in the HoloLens. So you will see a tabletop model, but also a full-scale model, essentially. We also have a tablet back there, so that we added multiple devices. But what you literally can walk around our first phase and gander at our urban park and this giant media wall, and our concert hall, and our market hall. And so please feel free to head back to the experience tables on the outside there, and whether it's HoloLens or a tablet, I invite you to take a closer look at what we're doing there.
Okay. No, thank you, Mike. So Bill, we're going to shift gears now and talk about ESG. Would love kind of your thoughts about the project, the program, how you're thinking about the E, the S, the G, and just share your thoughts.
Sure, no thanks, Mark. I think Chunka, your presentation earlier, sorry we keep going back to you, you used my favorite diagrams, the Venn diagram in one of them, and I think it was social need, organizational purpose, and then competitive advantage. we actually have that same 3-circle Venn diagram. It's a little bit different. It does have social need, organizational purpose, but then it is the single ownership of the family plus the scale of what we're doing this for, which then the overlapping center, we believe, creates our competitive advantage. And so we use sustainability in a more interconnected sense as far as this is our way of tying our employees and eventually our guests into our ESG purposes. So in our mission, vision, and values, one of our values is do the right thing. And within there it says that we are strongly committed to environmental, social, and financial sustainability. Some of those are pretty apparent, obviously environmental sustainability. We think of social sustainability meaning our employees. In the world of wellness, you've heard wellness mentioned several times here. We have our own wellness park. Susan Samuoli, one of our 2 owners, between Henry and Susan, is highly dedicated to integrative health and wellness. And so that works its way through the whole environment, and we're very focused on that for our employees. But that sort of social sustainability then also extends out beyond the boundaries of OC Vibe to our neighborhood. Anaheim, down the street a little bit, Santa Ana, where Dan was with the mayor, have we have some of the most amazing places in Anaheim that you're going to find on the planet, Disneyland. And at the same time, if you go 2 or 3 miles away from us or from Disneyland, there's some very underserved neighborhoods as well. And so our job, we feel, is to lift those communities by creating opportunity for them and getting out of the community and working with them. So we work very closely currently with the city of Anaheim and all of its services. And they have, for example, a culinary school, teaching culinary. We have culinary jobs already and expanding and getting bigger as we go forward. So how do we get that out to families as a whole career opportunity for somebody who has never had that opportunity for them and lift them? And then sort of in a full circle, this is now in the financial sustainability part, which makes us a little unique, is that our family is incredibly generous. The Samueli family has taken the gifting pledge, which means, of course, that they're giving away the bulk of their wealth during their lifetimes. They have given away more than $1 billion to areas like wellness and integrative health, as well as STEM education. But they're very dedicated to and very charitably minded. And so there is an opportunity for us, and especially those of us, Dan and I, and all of us up here, who are very profit focused. That's what we've been thrilled to be, and we're going to be as successful as we possibly can. But we know that the dollars that we generate for this project will go back into the community. And so we're not like most corporations, and there's nothing wrong with the corporate model, and I subscribe to it. But we do believe we have an even higher purpose, because those dollars will go back into our community and lifting them up as well. So I think, Mark, that's, we think of sustainability, and when we think of ESG, we think of it in sort of a cross-platform sustainability across environmental, social, and then financial sustainability. And that's the odd one, right? Nobody typically thinks, oh, we're gonna be financially sustainable. It's like, well, does that mean you're just gonna break even every year? And that's we're gonna be highly successful, I'm certain about it, but we will plow those proceeds back into the community.
Yeah, I wonder, Bill, if I could just redirect back to you real quickly and talk a little bit about the conversation we were having last night, where